Hi guys, today we're going to learn how to do operations with radicals. So these are the three questions that we're going to answer. And first of all, you need to know what are like radicals and also what are unlike radicals so that you can do the operations with the radicals. So radicals that have the same radicand are like radicals. And radicand means the number inside the radical symbol. So this is 7 radical 2. So the 2 is the radicand, and anything else with the radical 2 would be a like radical. So for example, these are both like radicals because they both have radical 2 in them. In this one, we have a radical 7 and a radical 28, and they look different at the moment. So at the moment, they are unlike radicals. And you're going to learn how to simplify. These both have radical 11 in them, so they are like radicals. And 32 and 18, at the moment, they seem to be unlike radicals. So only if they are like radicals we can do certain things. So, like radicals can be added or subtracted. So, I'm going to show you a few examples. So, we have 7 radical 2 minus 8 radical 2. This is like saying I have 7 of something minus 8 of the same thing. So, that makes it negative 1 radical 2. And in math, we don't really write the negative 1, so we write it as simply negative radical 2, which means radical 1, negative 1 times radical 2. Here's another option. These are both like radicals, so if it's 6 radical 11 plus 9 radical 11, the answer will be simply 15 radical 11. So now here's a question for you. It says 5 radical 3 minus radical 12, and radical 3 and radical 12 don't look like radicals. They don't look as if they have the same number in as the radicand. However, the second one can be simplified further. So you want to look at each term and see if you can simplify each radical. Now 5 radical 3 cannot be simplified any further. However, radical 12 is the product of 4 times 3, and I chose 4 because 4 is a perfect square. So the second term becomes 2 radical 3, and now we have like radicals which we can subtract, and the answer becomes 3 radical 3. So I want you to try these two. Please pause the video and give it a try. And now I'm ready to reveal. In the first one, radical 7 is simplified, but radical 28 can be simplified further. And we know that 28 is 4 times 7. So we can write the second one as 2 times 2 radical 7, which makes it 4 radical 7 plus 4 radical 7, which is now 8 radical 7. For the second question, 32 and 18 can both be simplified. 32 can become 16 times 2 and 18 can become 9 times 2. And so we simplify the radicals and we multiply out the whole numbers, and we get 20 radical 2 minus 12 radical 2, which can be subtracted, so it becomes 8 radical 2. So now, keeping all of this in mind, we're going to do some multiplication with radicals. When we're trying to multiply, we can multiply both like and unlike radicals. So the rule for multiplication that we're going to use is if I have radical of a number times radical of another number, then I can do the radical of the product of A times B. And another way to look at it is radical of x times radical of x is really radical of x squared, which will become x. So to understand the second one, you need to look at this. Oops. Okay. So we have radical 5 times radical 5, and radical 5 times radical 5 is actually radical 25. But you already know that radical 25 is just going to be 5. So therefore, a good way to memorize all of this is to remember this rule, which is very light. But anyway, okay. So the next thing to remember is when we say 5 radical 2, we mean 5 times radical 2. Keeping these rules in mind, let's do some multiplication. So here we have radical 2 times 3 radical 7 plus 2 radical 5. Now I've used colors to help you understand, but basically this is just distribution. So the first term is going to be radical 2 times 3 radical 7, and the second term is going to be radical 2 times 2 radical 5. And what this simply means is we're going to multiply these three parts out. So the first term becomes 3 times radical 2 times 7, and the second term becomes 2 radical 2 times 5. And 2 times 7 is 14, which cannot be simplified any further, plus 2 times radical 10, which cannot be simplified any further. So this is your final answer. I want you to try this on your own. Do it slowly and carefully. And now I'm ready to reveal. And radical, you're going to, once you get the practice, you will be able to do this much faster. So it's 3 radical 16 plus 3 radical 48. However, 16 is a perfect square and 48 is 16 times 3. So it becomes 4 radical 3, which you now add the whole numbers. These are the whole numbers. You're going to add these, multiply these and multiply the 3 times 4. And your answer stays in this form. We cannot make this 14 radical 3. 12 is a whole number and 12 radical 3 is a different number. So we just leave them as it is. And now try this for a challenge. Use foil. Do it super slowly. Pause the video. And here we go. I'm going to reveal. So this is our first and outer and the inner and the last. And radical 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 6 is 48. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. 24 is 4 times 6. 48 is 16 times 3. 6 cannot be simplified. And 12 is 4 radical 3. So the first term is 2 radical 6. This is going to be 4 radical 6. This stays as it is. And this is 2 radical 3. And now you're going to combine the like radical. That's the answer. There we go. And that is it. Goodbye.